What's up, everybody? I'm so excited for another one of my monthly guests. Gosh, I cannot believe I've been having these amazing guests on my channels for like 2+ years already now, Tim. And I find people who they're talking about something that I'm like, holy smokes, this is good. This is good information. And I need my audience to learn. And Tim, I met when I was on a panel at Digimarcon and totally jived with what he was talking about when it comes to technology and data and AI. And he's been in the industry for many decades. So that he was a perfect guest for us to close out 2025, part of closing out 2025 and all the changes. Wherever you are watching, if you're watching it live with us right now, what's up? Say hello in the chat. If you are catching this recording, totally great too. Please make sure you also comment. Let us know what you learned. Any questions, we'll be definitely monitoring all of that. And that's it. So, Tim Hayden here. I would love for you to just give a quick little intro
Sure.
of who you are and what you do, and then let's get into the juiciness of what the heck is happening in the data and tech world.
Yeah, well, absolutely, Rachel. No pressure at all. I mean, I've been doing this for decades, as you said, and I don't know how old that makes me, but yeah, definitely. Uh, Loved meeting you at Digimarcon, and I concur. I mean, I'm right back at you. I felt like you and I had some actually similar experiences in professionally, and a view maybe for what's happening now, what's going to happen next. So what is that? I mean, it is, we've spent the last 17 years of, starting this whole process of digitizing business. And I say starting because I still think we're still starting. I mean, I think we're still, there are so many companies. I like to guess that it's somewhere around 65 to 75% of business today isn't AI ready. And with that, they're just really not even digital fluent or literate yet. So, we've got a long way to go. But, what does that mean? It means in the last 17 years, most companies have spent, as much as 40 to 80% of their top line marketing spend, operational spend, with two companies, with Facebook and Google. And this idea that we had to go through a medium to find our audiences, to find our customers, and that's not wrong. I'm not dismissing that. It's just to the degree with which we've done it, and where does that got us today? It's got us where we paid companies to collect data, where they could build AI systems, and once again command the attention of our audiences. So what do I do today? I capitalize on, as you put it, decades of experience owning agencies, working for agencies, starting software companies, working for software companies, um, always looking at human behavior, right, and customer behavior as the leading signal, as trying to understand the needs, the preferences, and really what will resonate or be meaningful to folks, rather than just what clicks tell us and follows and likes and influencer data, audience number of followers, kind of stuff. I've always looked a little bit deeper to try to understand, what makes things happen, the why behind things are happening. So that's what we do at BrainTrust Partners. Is we've since 2016 have progressively got into the world of machine learning,
Mhm.
first, which is the basis for AI. A lot of people don't realize that. There's data, and then there's machine learning to help you wrangle the data to make it ready for the AI, which is math. Um, and it's nothing more than math, at the end of the day. Um, but for that to happen, I think there are systems like customer data platforms, data warehouses, and AI that you can control, open source, open weight models that you can bring into your business to have very similar experiences that you would with a chat GPT, or maybe a Claude or Gemini, but have total control, privacy and security of your data, and and being able to give customers what they want, what they ask for. I mean, that's it in an abridged summary. But for years I've just wondered why things are so hard as a customer.
Yeah.
Why does it take me so many clicks to do something? Why do I have to do 15 things to authenticate who I am? Why do I have to answer a bunch of questions on things that I answered the last 2 times that I came into the doctor's office? I mean,
Yeah.
things it's things like that. It's all data at the end of the day, and that's what we do is we help all
Yeah.
kinds of organizations, wrangle their data, make sense of it, and do what customers want and save money, grow revenue, all those things.
It seems easy, right? It's like do what what's going to make the customer journey frictionless, right?
Right.
Bring value to the customer all the time, every moment. Yet it's really difficult as a business to do that, especially as you get bigger and bigger, right? More
Sure.
customers, more need, more revenue, more people watching you, and more cooks in the kitchen. And now we got AI, which AI has been around for a while, as you
It has.
mentioned. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So talk a little bit. You said, you don't do AI until you have a data strategy. And to me, that's like, yeah, duh, but I say that because I worked at Microsoft, yet you're 100% correct. We are still in the beginning phases because this is still a couple decades, which is nothing in this span of time. A data strategy, what does that mean for a company that's listening today?
Well, I mean, you have data in the purest sense that exists in like a CRM,
Yeah.
and we could,
AKA names and emails and
yeah.
addresses and when they bought something.
Yeah, no, it's just that. I mean, you have names, you have email addresses, you have birthdays, social security numbers, you have um, point of sale data, which helps you understand what people had in their basket and when they bought it, and when they bought another one or they bought something different. These are all things that when they're correlated, when they're starting to, you've got your data together and you're able to do cross sections of understanding that certain people did certain things in certain sequences. Just as an example, that maybe you have a bunch of customers who did it one way and a bunch of other customers who did it a different way. And for most businesses, that's eye opening because most of the time they've just thought that they had five personas, five, maybe
Yeah.
10 different kinds of customers. And they just needed to change what color the people were in the ads or
Yeah.
just to call it what it is they tried to be
Yeah.
culturally relevant or because they had demographic information that told them that the people were older or they were younger
Yeah.
or that they
Or what
listened.
about when
Yeah,
I went and got I looked at the Nordstrom shoe.
yeah,
Right. And then all of a sudden I'm seeing ads of the Nordstrom shoe all over my Instagram feed and I'm seeing it in email. And they think, wow, I am such a good marketer now. Now I'm following my customer. They're definitely going to purchase because I'm showing them a bunch of ads wherever
right.
they are.
Right, and what's worse is you bought the Nordstrom shoe. I mean, maybe you didn't, but you bought the Nordstrom shoe, or you bought the Nordstrom shoe through Amazon,
Oh,
or
yes.
the
That's what
Nikes
happens a
through
lot.
Amazon, and
Yeah.
everywhere you go after you bought it, those Nikes are right there in front of you, right? And you're
Yeah.
like, think about, where we are today, it's that company, in that case, in that example, maybe it's Amazon or it's Nike, is paid to retarget me, and if I click on it, they're paying for that click.
Yeah.
And not only that, today there are not just crawlers, right, but
Hmm.
AI agents that are out there to test things and to throw companies off and to do other things, but they're racking up massive ad bills because of that way that
That's
because
crazy to think
because
about.
that retargeting is so willy-nilly, right? Because you don't like we do this just as an example. We work with quite a few people in retail automotive car dealers, and one of the things that's magical is their advertising spend can go down 20-30% within the first 90 days after we bring a customer data platform in, because we can suppress, we can turn off all the marketing automation, all the retargeting for anybody who bought a car in the last 6 months. Now, that
Makes
sounds,
sense.
it makes sense, and most people look at it and go, "Duh."
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you do it at mass, when you do it at scale, all of a sudden, for some of these dealer groups, that's a couple $100,000 that they're saving
Yeah.
just because they haven't started to just automatically or automagically retarget, and to your point, put that car in front of you everywhere you went, even
Yeah.
after you bought it. Yeah,
So that's what you talk about. When we talk about a data strategy, like these are, and like real rubber meets the road as your business, these are what we're talking about, right? Like
right.
that customer journey. And AI is just a tool to really accelerate what's possible. But you're saying none of that AI is not going to work if we don't even have our ducks in a row. If you don't even know what data we have. And a lot of big companies have no idea what they have.
Well, they have no idea what they have, and in turn, they don't know who their customers are, right?
Right.
They don't have a clear view, or as I said before, a single point of intelligence or insight on who their customers are, what their customers' needs are. So, yeah, I mean, customer data platforms today, we partner with a couple of different companies, and I'll do my best not to, I'm not going to get pitchy, but these are systems that in real time are
Yeah.
building what's called a golden record of everything that's vital that you've done with that company all in one place with your customer record. And what that does for you as a customer, it may sound kind of creepy, but what that does for you as a customer is what I was saying before is you call in and you need help. Whoever's answering the phone would be able to look at your customer record and not have to ask you a bunch of questions, because most of what you could be talking about should be right in front of them. There's that in terms of and there's AI involved in that, right? There's AI involved with perhaps a predictive or even a regressive view of saying that, these are the kinds of things, or these are the kinds of issues that were with these products, or these SKUs or inventory and associated with this customer. So let's let's ask them real quick if they have an issue with that particular SKU, that particular product. So, a lot of people think about AI as just this generative prompting, prompt engineering type opportunity
Mm-hmm.
through a browser, but applied artificial intelligence is there to turn those 3-step, 5-step processes into 2-step processes. Is there
Mm-hmm.
to turn something that took you 2 days to build, or 2 days to get the data, derive an insight, then make it look pretty, um, or act on it, with maybe an ad or a newsletter. All of that, just subtracting hours, subtracting days, and putting you in a position to where you can work much more efficient, and better than that, much more accurate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, w- what do you think? Like, everything's changing so fast, where do you think we're going to be in like 2, 3 years? Like, what are the things that we need to do today to be prepared for where it's going to be in 3 years? Because the last year has been, whoa, like 2025 has been a really giant shift. We felt it in our own business, right? We're seeing massive layoffs that are AI is replacing my job, right?
Right.
Um, and we're also seeing that all the LLMs are, PhD level. So, like, from a knowledge standpoint, they're hella smart, arguably smarter than your team, let's say.
Yes.
Um, so what does that mean? Like, all that can be true, and still we're still not ready. Like, our
Totally.
data is still shit. Like, still so like, what are we doing here?
Well, so it's okay to say things like the data is shit on the on this on the
Yeah.
on this recording. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's that. One is, garbage in, garbage out, which
Yeah.
is a bumper sticker now. It's just, it everybody talks about garbage in, garbage out. Make sure you've got good data. Um, but there are going to be a lot of companies who charge forward with artificial intelligence that isn't trained on their data. It just helps with some automation of things, and there will probably be just as many situations that don't turn out so well as those that do turn out a little better. What I mean by that is, um, you hear a lot of people talking about commoditization. Um,
Hmm. Hmm.
if if everyone is operating from the same prompt engineering playbooks, right? If they're following the same people on LinkedIn and or Instagram or TikTok, right? And
Yeah.
that's where they're getting their instruction. And lots of people start to do things the same way. Not only is it the AI model, people point the finger at ChatGPT or at Claude, but not only is the model at fault because it's trained on everything but the data that has to do with your business.
Hmm.
But it's also this jam where I think we're just going to see more robotic customer behavior and employee behavior that's caused by the commoditization of content and insights that come from AI. I wholly believe that a certain amount of the marketplace is going to go in that direction,
Yeah.
and another way of stating that is they're gonna be stuck where they were for the past 15, 17 years, where they're wholly dependent on 1 or 2 hyper-scaling big tech companies instead of, I mean, just like they were with Facebook and Google, or now Meta and Alphabet, just like they were for the past 2 decades, now they're gonna be doing it again, maybe with one of those still, but with an OpenAI or an Anthropic, as well, and that's what those companies want, but I just think you just have, um, what's gonna happen on the other hand are the companies that are doing it right. The companies that started in the last 2 to 3 years and for the next 2 or 3 years to invest in their data, to make sure that it's accurate. Going to companies like Data Axle, maybe Experian, maybe some of these others who,
Hmm.
from an identity graph standpoint, they've got the ability to come in and fill some gaps. Like you've got names and phone numbers, but maybe you need email addresses. Maybe you want to know what magazines they subscribe to. Maybe you want to know where they go to church. I mean, again, sounds creepy, but this is all public data that you can get access to.
Yeah.
Um, and it can make what you do in a general marketing and marketing automation standpoint, it can help you build micro audiences. It can help you be much more meaningful and relevant with technology that's been around for years. You can be much more personalized with your communication. I think the companies that have been doing that and taking those steps today will be the ones that will be much more calculated in terms of what they do with artificial intelligence. I think they'll have better adoption rates
Yeah.
because they'll have higher digital literacy, or they'll get there faster just because they have invested in having clean and accurate data across the enterprise, right? And I use enterprise loosely because it's not just Global 2000 or Fortune 500
Yeah.
brands; it's all companies.
Yeah.
So
Can you
I
talk?
think it's okay. Yeah.
There's something you're talking about that I remember when we met, the customer first party data, and that really hit me big because you're right. We've been in this last 2 decades where it's like it's Meta, it's Microsoft, it's Amazon, right? It's Google, couple big tech companies that own us. They have all the data and we're
They do.
beholden to what they have. And then we just sort of manipulate pieces of that to make it feel like our own.
Mhm.
And then what you're s- w- what you're starting to say is, especially for small businesses, which I think is important, we hit 'cause a lot of people that follow me either work for companies or they're their own business. We are now, yeah, like you're going to use one of the big LLMs to do a lot of things to build these agents, chat GPTs of every single thing, because those are our employees now, right?
Right.
But now those, like you were saying, that's what OpenAI wants, right? That's it now. Instead, just like but Google, before you were buying all my ads, well, now I'm just going to have you hooked onto my Gemini. And so we're just kind of evolving and being more hooked. But you're trying to talk about this, getting your own data set, creating your own closed customer first party, right? data. Can you just speak a little bit to that? Because I've been thinking a lot about that as a small business,
Mhm.
somebody with thousands of followers between Josh and I, with thousands of email subscribers,
Right.
and what should I be doing with that?
Yeah. No, there are hundreds of, and almost all of them are free. I mean, open source, open weight models, um, which is not, don't be confused by OpenAI and ChatGPT. That is not an open source model. It is closed. You can configure it to do some certain things, but it won't train on your data. It won't. It's not going to learn your business. It's not going to learn the nuances or what I like to call the DNA of the business, which is that first party data. Right? It is wholly unique to your business. And I think when you and I talked about it originally, we talked a lot about being on brand. You have the customer voice, you have the employee voice, and you have operational signals that are extremely unique to the way you operate, the way your business operates. So that data considered as DNA, it is wholly unique to your business. Therefore, when you have very trainable um, AI and you've got an increasingly, I would say, affordable, maybe, but certainly accessible way to host your data in an environment, a vectorized environment, which is the environment. We won't go into all the technicalities of that, but it's not just a regular database. You can't just plug and model into your CRM and do this. But it's not it's very accessible today, and it's going to be more affordable as time goes along for you to pick model and be able to switch models too, right? Because the models will have higher performance and they'll use less GPU or less energy, or maybe they'll give you access to more GPU without using more energy. There's a number of ways this could play out, but your ability to be able to control all of that, right? Both from a cost standpoint and from a security standpoint and privacy standpoint. And the reason you want to do that is for what I've already said. Everything that you have is unique to your business. So um, there's a number of ways you can do that today. There's going to be more companies that know that small businesses, as much as mid cap, as much as enterprise and global conglomerates, want to capitalize on artificial intelligence or capitalize on in their data with artificial intelligence to make it more affordable. And I think we're just going to see more and more tools that come about and make that possible. And this is where AWS is getting real interesting, and Google Cloud Platform, Azure. I mean, Microsoft wants to make it to where it's the entry level to get in. This is not just conventional web hosting, but being able to have an AI friendly environment, and then you to pick the model of your choice, right?
Hmm.
To operate, train on that data, and be configured to your workflows. And there are more and more shops like ours that have the data scientists and the AI engineers who can do the business of training the model and making sure that it operates per your workflows. That I think that's going to become much more affordable and much more scalable across the marketplace as time goes along. But it goes, but it's,
Hmm.
I think it's the genesis of your question. That's going to ensure that you have that unique flavor, right? That on brand experience. Um, Food and beverage is easy to talk about because it's all about flavor. It's always about what the chef has done with a unique combination of ingredients, or the brewer has done with a unique combination of ingredients and a unique style of brewing or distilling, whatever it might be. And that same kind of that same kind of
Hmm.
magic, right? That same, just it tastes different. I like the way it tastes. That's the same way we are with brands. It is the same. Brands make us feel something, you know. They become part of our identity perhaps, but they also just give us comfort and confidence. And that's why we shop or we subscribe or we buy a lot of the same brand over time. People call that loyalty. You got to unpack that. There's something else that the brand has done, I think, just to give the customer in that situation, the consumer, just a tremendous amount of confidence and comfort with the brand. So, um,
Trust. Brand
trust,
trust.
brand
Yeah.
trust, and that's the same thing we're talking about here with
Yeah.
protecting that first party data and doing AI your way. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. And there is a lot of skepticism in the market, and that's going to continue to be the case, being in this trust deficit, trust recession.
Yes.
And so I think that it's definitely our job, especially as business owners, to be transparent about what we're doing and take our customers along the journey, of what we're doing to protect their data, to create our own systems. It's a really interesting time, right, Tim? I appreciate the conversation, because if you feel like your eyeballs are like, now what? That's how you should feel. That's
You
how you should
should.
feel.
Well, you should, and the other thing, we won't dive into it for time's sake, but it's I think it's something else that we covered a little bit on our panel there, at Digimarcon in conversation since, is this need for preserving, the knowledge that, your team has, right? I mean,
Hmm.
you mentioned earlier about layoffs or furloughs or, what certainly appears from the headlines is AI replacing humans. I don't I think some companies, it might make sense, especially if they're in financial services because numbers are easy for AI. Um, I think that might be, that might be, I don't want to call it appropriate, but I want to say it may be easier for the company to make that turn. But for a lot of companies, I mean, I'll just say this real quick is, I see so many people talking about replacing their call centers, contact centers, or a receptionist with voice agents. And I say, well, first of all, IVR, voice technology has been around for a long time. I mean, I can remember being 10 years old and picking up a phone that's had a wire to the wall to just go through a voice prompting thing to find out my dad's flight was on time, if he was going to be home for dinner, right? And as you know, I've been in business for decades. So if I was 10 years old and that happened, that was a long time ago. Um, but where I'm going with that is, you don't the receptionist is one of the last people that you want to let go, because he or she knows where the bodies are buried. She knows more about how the company operates and what's going on in the culture, right? The ins and outs of how shit gets done. That person that you're talking about, especially when you talk about contact centers or call centers, because they know more about customers than anybody in marketing does. So why would you want robots to take their place when between their ears, they've got all kinds of insight and knowledge and empathy with how they do their job and what it takes to perform in their role, but also what customers want. you
Yeah.
know, we shouldn't rush in to automate everything. We sure as hell shouldn't rush in to replace, folks just because we think they're in a mundane answering the phone role. Maybe that's true, but no, no,
Yeah.
no, no, no. There's more
Well,
to it.
it's a bit of a recrafting of our job descriptions and our value, right? And
Right.
if you're to your point, like, it isn't really that you're the assistant, you're the office manager, you're the culture manager, right? And there are ways that we need to shift what the
Mhm.
needs are of the business, and where that person can use AI to augment some of those tasks. But to your point, yeah, I mean, at the same time as there's more technology, more efficiency, more of all of that, there's also this giant need for real authentic connection and real human to human. And AI is nothing without the human behind it at this point. And
Correct.
hopefully we don't enter into that West world or some of these, crazy worlds where they take over. But I think we're far away from that, at least, Tim. And hopefully my little Ava won't be experiencing something crazy like that.
Yeah.
And so it's a big shift in our individual value. What are the skills that we bring to the table? And all of us kind of reskilling ourselves in some ways. But it's such an interesting conversation. Yeah, you've always given me a lot to think about. Before we wrap up, a couple of just rapid fire, and
Sure.
please, y'all, connect with Tim and follow him and all the goodness. Couple rapid fire. Which AI tool do you actually use every day?
Oh, um, I use Read.ai. I use it for transcriptions of a lot of my video calls.
Yeah.
Coffee.ai is our CRM now. We just replaced HubSpot with Coffee.ai, which is just a cleaner interface, and much easier to use than HubSpot was. Doesn't cost near as much, but does a fantastic job of segmentation of our audience, or helping us understand who we should be talking to, and many times what we should ask about.
Yeah.
Based on our last conversation, last video call with someone. Um, Claude is the only public model that I carry on my iPhone, and I do more with Claude in the sense of I hit the microphone button, and I will just have a open and free conversation, which is more me just saying, "Hey, I'm thinking about writing a white paper, or I want to argue a point here, and this is my point here. Please come back at me and tell me what's wrong with it, or what am I not thinking about?" Right. And there's usually, 5 minutes of me rambling in between what I just said there. But, that's Claude to me, it does the best writing, in terms of what I wanted to do. In the last 6 months, it's been able to pull outside information from the web in to cite some of the references, and that it would make whenever I ask it, what else should I be thinking about? Those are just a few of the things. There's a whole lot that my technology team, my data engineers use when it comes to the things they do with AI agents, and the things they do with assistance with writing code, or developing API connections and things like that. There's a number of
Okay.
different systems that they use, but that's
Yeah.
that's what every day
Okay.
that's what I
So
use.
coffee.ai, read.ai, and you like Claude. All right. All right.
Yeah.
I don't use Claude very much, but I think I need to test that one out. What do you think is the most overhyped buzzword in tech right now?
Oh my gosh. I mean, other than AI,
I know it's he.
um, I mean, I, I think, I think reskill is a. I mean, you used it a few times earlier, and it's not that you used it, but um, I'm a big believer, um, in, as I said before, about knowledge transfer. Right? We have very, very few of what Tom Brokaw called the greatest generation. Our grandparents that were around, who fought in World War II, um, who were born during World War One, or in that time frame, lived through a stock market crash, lived through a depression. Most of those people don't walk around on the earth with us much anymore. I mean, most of them are gone. Um, and I just think when it comes to business, AI is, in terms of everybody putting all their eggs in the AI basket and saying, if you don't do AI, or you got to do AI, and just making these absolutes. I think there's a baby in bathwater situation here, where they're not realizing that they've got 99 problems, and AI is only going to solve one. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Totally.
Yeah,
Totally.
no, I
Yeah.
just
I feel you on that.
it's I don't think anything, is there's not something that is spoken more right now than just people talking about AI, or let me ask my AI, or let me,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and I think that's
Yeah.
going to change. I think
Yeah.
we won't call it AI in the future, but otherwise, I just think we're missing
Yeah,
the
well, I mean, it
point.
was like
Yeah,
the internet, right? On the internet, and you did internet marketing, right? And there's still the IMP, internet marketing. I know Dave Gonzalez, but you don't say like I'm going on the internet or going to the World Wide Web, right? Like
no,
those things. I'm going on my dial-up to get on my instant messenger chat, right? Like
Right.
those things don't even happen. You don't even, I mean, the kids don't even say text, really. I mean, maybe a little bit, but they're just having their conversation. So there's certainly like a massive, what's just a lot of acculturation. There's just a lot of change that's about to happen and happening. So I think that's awesome. Well, cool. I'm with you on all of this. This has been such a great conversation. We have so many other things that we will continue to be looking out for and talk about. If you haven't connected with Tim, please do. Is there anywhere else you'd like them to reach out or connect with you?
No, I would say right now LinkedIn is the primary place. It's where we focus on our content, even that which comes from our website. Um, that's where most of it is right now. I do
Awesome.
share when I speak at events. I always share that there as well. So if you get a chance to go to some of those events, a lot of what we talked about here and even more, is what's there. I really appreciate you having me, Rachel. I mean, this is it's been a lot of fun. I'm glad we got a chance to meet this year, and looking forward to collaboration with you and anything we might be able to work on together. But thanks for having me.
For sure, for sure. Well, thank you so much for being here, Tim. Everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with me this year. And just really appreciate you. So much more to come. And I'll see you next time. Have a great rest of your week.